English Easy Podcast.
Picture this. It is Friday evening. You just snapped your laptop shut after a week that, it frankly felt like a marathon run in quicksand.
Oh, yeah. The absolute worst kind of week.
Right. And your phone is just sitting there on the desk, still buzzing with, notifications you are actively ignoring. And your brain is just screaming this one single phrase on a loop, which is just, please, no more.
Just tap out.
Exactly. Like you are perfectly fine. You are completely professional all day long. But the second you cross the threshold of your home, your only ambition is to just collapse politely and basically become a blanket with a face.
A blanket with a face. I love that. It is a highly specific yet, universally understood state of being.
It really is.
Because the blanket with a face is honestly the most peaceful, zero pressure version of ourselves. But what's really fascinating here is how poorly equipped we usually are to talk about this exact state.
Yeah, we just don't have the words.
Right. We default to saying, I'm tired. But tired is a dangerously inadequate word for what you are actually experiencing in that moment.
Well, right, because tired implies a very simple equation, doesn't it? Like you exerted energy, so now you just need a quick nap to get it back.
Exactly.
But this feeling we are talking about, like a 20-minute snooze on the couch is definitely not going to fix it. So today, our mission is to build a linguistic toolkit for exhaustion.
Which we all desperately need.
Oh, absolutely. And we are pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources for this deep dive. We've got a linguistics paper on the semantics of exhaustion, a couple of clinical psychology articles detailing occupational burnout, and some cutting-edge neurobiology research on how our bodies actually process the end of a stress cycle.
Which is such a vital combination of fields because, finding the precise words for our feelings isn't just like a fun English lesson.
Right, it's not just semantics.
No, it is an act of profound emotional honesty. Our vocabulary literally dictates our reality. When we can accurately name the specific flavor of our exhaustion, well, then we can figure out exactly how to heal it.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, if you misdiagnose the problem as just being tired, you will apply the wrong solution. But if you have the nuance to identify what is actually happening in your mind and body, you unlock the right path to recovery.
Okay, let's unpack this. By starting right there on the commute home, you are, sitting on the train or you're gripping the steering wheel in traffic, and you realize you aren't just physically exhausted, you are completely empty. And the linguistic source highlights a crucial difference here between being tired and being depleted.
Yes. Depleted is the exact right word here. Think of it structurally. Like if you are tired, you have simply spent your daily allowance of energy.
You just emptied the daily bucket.
Right. But if you are depleted, your energy has been drained slowly, piece by piece, drop by drop, all week long. The psychology paper we looked at actually refers to this as your allostatic load.
Allostatic load. Okay, so that's essentially the biological wear and tear on your body from chronic stress.
Exactly. When you are constantly adapting to small stressors, answering the urgent messages, pivoting on a project, suppressing your frustration in a meeting, your brain is constantly releasing these microscopic hits of cortisol.
Oh, wow. So it's happening all day long without us even noticing.
All day. And over a week, that cumulative physiological effort leaves your allostatic load incredibly high. You might not be acting dramatic, you aren't necessarily angry, and you certainly aren't lazy. You just have absolutely nothing left in the reserves.
So the well has run completely dry.
Precisely.
It's almost like the erosion of a cliff face. It doesn't all fall away at once in a giant landslide. Right. It just gets chipped away by 1,000 tiny waves of emails and requests and minor inconveniences.
That is a perfect metaphor.
But let me push back on this a little bit, because when I read these articles, I couldn't help but wonder, are we just doing this to ourselves? Is feeling this depleted every Friday just a sign that we lack grit? Or maybe that we are just bad at setting boundaries compared to previous generations?
I hear that a lot. And that is a very common and very punishing assumption. It's basically a guilt trip we put on ourselves.
Yeah, I definitely feel guilty about it.
But the source introduces a brilliant word to counter that exact guilt, and that word is overextended. You are not weak. You are overextended.
Overextended.
Meaning you have stretched yourself too far across too many domains.
And mechanistically, the environment actually demands that stretching now more than ever, doesn't it? Like the sources point out that our working memory, the part of our brain that holds on to temporary information, is only really designed to hold about 4 to 7 items at a time.
Right, it's a very limited space.
But modern work culture asks us to juggle 20. I mean, we are fundamentally overextending our cognitive capacity every single day.
Exactly. It is a mechanical issue. It's not a moral failing. You stretch the rubber band further than its physical tolerance. And this brings us to a really vital analogy from the psychology source. It argues that we have to permanently stop thinking of the human soul as a power bank.
Oh man, this hits so close to home. Because we treat ourselves exactly like our devices.
We really do.
We think, okay, I am at 2% battery. I will just plug myself into the wall, do 20 minutes of fast charging by watching a sitcom or chugging an espresso, and suddenly I will be at 100% and emotionally stable again.
But humans are biological organisms. We are not smartphones. We cannot be fast charged.
Exactly.
Right? A lithium-ion battery doesn't have a nervous system. So when we treat ourselves like machines, we expect instant recovery. And when that instant recovery doesn't happen, what do?
We get mad at ourselves.
Exactly. We get frustrated, which just creates more stress. Acknowledging that you are depleted and overextended is a vital first step because it allows you to approach your evening not with the expectation of a quick fix, but with the biological grace required for actual restoration.
Which naturally moves us into the next phase of the journey.
Yeah.
You know, you've made it through the commute. You have just walked through your front door. It's those first 10 minutes after you arrive home. And the neurobiology research suggests this is kind of the make or break window for the entire evening.
It absolutely is. This is the physiological transition zone.
Yeah.
And the vocabulary word we need here is decompress.
Decompress.
Right. Decompressing is the deliberate act of slowly calming down after pressure. If you think about deep sea divers, for instance, they can't just shoot straight to the surface from the bottom of the ocean.
Right, because of the nitrogen bubbles in their blood. If they come up too fast, the pressure change causes the bends, which, can be fatal.
Exactly.
They have to come up slowly, stopping at different depths to just let their bodies adjust to the changing pressure.
And we are doing the neurological version of that when we walk through the door. During the day, your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, is fully engaged to help you handle the pressure. You are flooded with adrenaline and cortisol.
Just constantly ready for a threat.
Yes. So you can't just step into your living room and demand your body instantly switch to the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest state. You have to actively create that decompression time.
It doesn't just happen magically because you cross the physical threshold of your house.
No, not at all.
The source material's so good on the specific mechanics of this too. It emphasizes incredibly small, almost invisible habits. Like taking your shoes off immediately,
So important.
putting the phone in another room,
Right.
or even just face down, drinking a glass of water, just standing quietly in the kitchen for a full 60 seconds.
Oh, that's a great one.
And my personal favorite, which I honestly think is a highly underrated health metric, not answering anything, no texts, no questions, just a temporary vow of silence. And neurologically, that makes so much sense because silence is cutting off sensory input.
That is exactly why it works. All day, your brain has been forced to process inputs, visual demands, auditory demands, emotional demands.
Right, the boss needing something, the traffic lights, the
Oh, wow.
noise.
Everything. Decompressing requires stemming that tide of input so your internal pressure can equalize with the safe environment of your home.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The neurobiology paper pointed out how physical this stress actually is, specifically regarding our breathing.
Oh, yeah. The breathing changes everything.
Because we go through our busy week and we don't even notice that our breath has become incredibly shallow, our jaw is clenched tight, and our shoulders are practically touching our earlobes.
Right. It is the body's oldest, most primitive stress response. When we feel pressured, we prepare for a physical threat. We brace for impact.
And we hold that brace for 5 days straight.
Exactly. The shallow breathing is just your body trying to take in rapid, small amounts of oxygen to fuel a quick escape or a physical fight.
Breathing like my emails are physically chasing me through the jungle.
That is exactly what your brain thinks is happening.
But knowing that mechanism actually gives us a backdoor to fix it, doesn't it? The source suggests a very simple, non-dramatic breathing check-in during those first 10 minutes.
Yes. So before you try to force yourself to relax, which, let's be honest, never works and usually just stresses you out more.
Oh, trying to force relaxation is the worst.
It is. You just pause and ask yourself a simple question. Am I breathing calmly, or am I breathing like I'm being chased?
And when you inevitably notice that shallow breathing, you don't panic. You just take one slow, intentional breath. And the science here is fascinating. When you take a slow, deep breath, particularly focusing on a long exhale, you are manually stimulating the vagus nerve.
Yes. The vagus nerve is basically the superhighway between your brain and your major organs. So when you intentionally slow your breathing, that nerve sends a direct message to your brain's fear center, the amygdala.
Telling you to chill out.
Right. It says, we are safe now. The heart rate is slowing down. There are no predators here. It is quite literally a mechanical override for your stress response.
Okay, so we've survived the commute. We've decompressed in the first 10 minutes by cutting off sensory input. And we've engaged the vagus nerve. The shoes are off. The phone is away. We finally sink into the couch. The body is resting.
But
the brain completely missed the memo.
naturally,
The body is home, but the brain is still at the office or running errands or worrying about next Tuesday.
this is the hurdle everyone faces. You've changed your physical location, but not your cognitive location. And the term for this invisible burden is mental clutter.
Mental clutter. I pictured like a desk where someone just dumped a massive box of loose papers, sticky notes, and old receipts right on top of the keyboard.
That is a perfect visualization of what is happening in your working memory. It is a chaotic accumulation of worries, minor reminders, and unfinished tasks.
Just endless tabs open in the brain.
Exactly. Your physical environment might be perfectly quiet, but internally your cognitive bandwidth is completely maxed out.
And the timing of this mental clutter is almost comical. The source points out the drama of toothpaste.
Oh, the toothpaste effect.
Right, you can go all day long not thinking about toothpaste, but the very second the house is completely quiet, the lights are low, and you finally close your eyes on the couch, your brain suddenly shouts, "We are out of min jail." It's like it waits for the absolute quietest moment to attack.
It feels like an attack, but there is actually a psychological principle behind this called the Zeigarnik effect.
The Zeigarnik effect. This is the idea that our brains are hardwired to remember interrupted or uncompleted tasks way better than completed ones.
Right, exactly. Bluma Zeigarnik was a psychologist in the 1920s who noticed that waiters in cafes could remember incredibly complex unpaid orders. But the second the bill was paid, they almost instantly forgot what the table had eaten.
No.
Yeah. So your brain holds on to the uncompleted task, buying the toothpaste, because it perceives it as a threat to your survival if you forget it.
Because in the past, forgetting a task meant, not gathering food or something.
Right. During the day, the immediate demands drown out that background noise. But once the external noise drops in the evening, the Zeigarnik effect takes over, and the internal mental clutter becomes deafening.
So how do we fight it? Because just telling my brain to shut up and stop thinking about toothpaste, well, usually just makes it louder. It's like the classic, don't think of a pink elephant problem.
Right. You don't fight it, you clear it. The psychological term for this is cognitive offloading. Your brain is holding on to the toothpaste because it thinks if it doesn't hold it, you will fail. It fundamentally doesn't trust you to remember.
A very misguided attempt at helpfulness from my own brain.
Extremely misguided. So you have to literally offload the data. Writing things down is incredibly powerful here. Taking a pen and writing "buy toothpaste" on a physical piece of paper signals to your brain that the information is stored safely externally.
It's like taking the file out of RAM and saving it to the hard drive.
Exactly. It satisfies the Zeigarnik effect. The task isn't completed, but it is secured. That physically removes it from your mental desk.
And beyond just writing it down, the source talks about the power of making a conscious, vocalized decision about the rest of the clutter. Literally saying out loud, this does not need my attention tonight.
I love that technique. It is an act of profound kindness to yourself, and it's a boundary-setting exercise for your own mind.
Setting a boundary with yourself.
Yes, you are acknowledging the clutter, validating that the problems exist, and then explicitly telling your executive function that it is off the clock until tomorrow. You are giving your mind permission to stop performing.
Okay, so the mental clutter is cleared. The Zeigarnik effect is neutralized. The desk in our mind is wiped down. Now we need to actually get some energy back before we drift off to sleep. We are moving into the final phase of the evening. But the linguistic source makes a very specific and I think very important distinction here about the word recharge.
Yes. We talked earlier about how we are not power banks or smartphones.
Right.
So the word recharge, while obviously very popular, is a bit too mechanical. It implies plugging in, extracting energy, and efficiently getting back to 100% productivity so you can just work harder tomorrow. The word we should really be aiming for instead is replenish.
Replenish. It feels, softer, warmer.
It is a fundamentally more human concept. To replenish is to restore something that has been depleted, but in a gentle, nourishing way. It isn't about becoming highly energetic or productive. It is just about refilling your peace.
Refilling your peace.
Yes, it is refilling your emotional reserves so you can feel like yourself again.
The psychology source gives some amazing examples of what this looks like in practice, and I really love how thoroughly unimpressive they are.
Yes.
Because we are constantly sold this aesthetic idea of self-care, right?
Yeah.
We think relaxing has to be this Instagram-worthy event with an expensive bath bomb, a perfectly curated charcuterie board, and a stack of self-help books.
Right, it becomes another performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the source suggests things like just eating toast in old pajamas.
Because true rest doesn't have to look impressive to be effective. In fact, if your rest requires a lot of setup, it's just another task requiring executive function.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, toast in old pajamas can be incredibly healing because it is a low-demand activity. A quiet meal, a warm shower, putting on clean clothes, listening to a slow song. These are the small, unglamorous things that replenish us.
They just ask nothing of us.
Right. Neurologically, they signal safety and comfort, and they give something back to you without asking for any performance in return.
It's the difference between doing something because it looks relaxing to an audience and doing something because it actually makes your nervous system feel whole again.
Exactly.
And once you start to feel a little bit replenished, you naturally move into the next phase of the vocabulary toolkit. You stop rushing. And the word the source uses here is savor.
To savor something is to enjoy it slowly and fully. And this is vital because of how stress warps our perception of time.
Right, the time blindness.
Yes. When you are overextended and flooded with adrenaline, time feels like it is just slipping through your fingers. You are always rushing to the next thing.
Even when you're supposed to be relaxing.
Exactly. But when you savor something, you are pulling the emergency brake on that time perception. You are noticing the taste, the smell, the physical sensation, and the quiet surrounding it.
The example they use is making a cup of tea late in the evening. You aren't doing it for hydration, and you certainly aren't doing it for caffeine. You are doing it just to experience the ritual of it.
Just for the sake of it.
Yeah, the warmth of the mug, the smell of the steam, it elevates a tired, worn-out evening into something that actually feels intentional.
Savoring turns a mundane action into an anchor. It grounds you in the present moment, which is really the only place where the parasympathetic nervous system can truly do its repair work.
Wow.
And when you successfully anchor yourself in a moment that feels good, it triggers a gentle release of dopamine. Not the frantic dopamine of checking social media, but the soothing dopamine of contentment.
The good dopamine.
Right. And that naturally leads to our final vocabulary word, which is linger.
Linger. Staying in that peaceful moment just a little bit longer.
Exactly. You savor the tea, and then you linger in the quiet kitchen instead of rushing back to the couch. You linger in the final chords of a good song before taking your headphones off. You linger in the feeling of finally being warm in bed.
Just letting it stretch out.
Yes. Lingering is the ultimate rebellion against a week that demanded you rush from one task to the next. It is giving yourself permission to just be without an agenda.
I love that.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this entire sequence, from acknowledging you are depleted, to decompressing the nervous system, to replenishing, savoring, and lingering, this is the architecture of zero guilt rest.
Zero guilt rest.
Yeah.
Because we usually feel terrible when we rest.
We often feel extremely guilty because we misdiagnose ourselves as just being lazy. But when you understand the biology and the vocabulary behind these concepts, you realize that resting is the active, deeply necessary work of recovering your true self.
It's the active work of recovery. I love that phrasing. It just reframes the whole evening.
It really does.
So let's retrace our steps on this journey. From the moment you close the laptop, the first step is emotional honesty, acknowledging that you aren't just tired, but that your allostatic load is completely maxed out. You are deeply depleted and overextended.
Absolutely.
Then we've talked about the crucial first 10 minutes walking through the door, taking the time to physically decompress by cutting off sensory input and using slow breaths to signal safety to your vagus nerve.
Getting out of fight or flight.
Right. Then we learned how to sweep the mental clutter off the desk in our minds by writing it down, satisfying the Zeigarnik effect, and literally giving ourselves permission to stop performing.
Offloading the data.
Exactly. And finally, we found those quiet, unglamorous moments in our old pajamas to gently replenish, savor, and linger before sleep.
The perfect evening.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Well, it means that doing absolutely nothing is not a waste of time.
Not at all.
It is a biological and psychological requirement. Doing nothing requires absolutely zero guilt. It is how you put the pieces of yourself back together after a long week of giving yourself away to everyone else.
This raises an important question, actually. Something for you to think about tonight as you finally turn out the lights. We've seen today how much our vocabulary matters, how it shapes the way we treat our own bodies.
It's so powerful.
It is. If the words we use truly shape our reality, how might your entire relationship with rest, and really your relationship with yourself, change if you permanently stop telling yourself you are just lazy or just tired and started actively respecting your profound human need to replenish?
A completely different way to look at the end of the week. No guilt, no performance, just exactly what you need.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Wherever you are in your day or your evening, we hope you find a moment to put the phone down, breathe a little slower, and truly savor your rest. You've earned it.